Let's be clear from the start. This isn't about productivity hacks or finding the perfect calendar app. We're here to map the hidden forces that are actually in control of your focus and your time. This is really an exploration of why some people seem to command their attention, while so many of us feel like it's constantly slipping through our fingers.
So, if you're struggling to focus, this isn't about a lack of willpower on your part. Think of this more as a diagnosis of a much larger, systemic issue, a kind of silent collapse in our ability to get things done that's affecting everyone, even the highest performers out there. We're not talking about self-help here. We're talking about the physics of modern work.
All right, let's get into our first signal because it completely reframes the problem. You see, we tend to think that our attention is something we lose, kind of like misplacing your keys. But the reality? It's way more active and honestly, a lot more concerning than that.
We all tell ourselves this story, right? I'm just bad at focusing. We frame it as a personal failure. But the signal points to a very different truth. Your focus isn't failing you. It's being actively harvested, packaged, and sold by systems that are specifically designed to monetize it.
And this extraction, it happens by design. The digital world we all live in is literally built to profit from interrupting you. Every single notification, every feed refresh, you can think of it as a tiny transaction where the currency is a slice of your attention. And this constant context switching, it does more than just distract you in the moment. It is literally rewiring your brain to see fragmentation as the normal state of being.
So the most crucial point here is this. Your attention is now a resource that you have to actively defend. In an environment that is engineered for extraction, what you don't fiercely protect will, without a doubt, be taken from you. It's no longer something you just have, it's something you have to guard.
Okay, so this signal, this idea of attention being taken, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It actually builds into a much larger pattern. We're talking about a culture of fragmentation that has become the default operating system for entire teams, companies, and even careers.
I mean, just look at the modern workday when we break it down. 35% is gone, just like that, to email and comms. Another 30% is eaten up by meetings. Then you've got 20% for all those unplanned interruptions. When all is said and done, what's left? A tiny 15%. That's all the time we have for the deep, focused work that actually moves things forward. Our day is fragmented by design.
And this leads to a really dangerous paradox, a state we call busy stagnation. Your calendar is packed, your inbox is overflowing. Everybody feels incredibly busy. But here's the question, is real progress being made? This constant state of shallow attention means we're often just spinning our wheels, mistaking all that activity for actual achievement.
So how does this pattern play out in the real world? Well, it becomes a hidden war for your time. And it's a war that's waged every single day in the one place we think we control, our calendar.
Think about the start of a productive day. Before you can build any real momentum, you're hit with this rapid-fire sequence of context switches. You check your email, then you jump over to Slack, you try to get back to your project, and bam, there's the alert for your 9:30 meeting. Each one of these little switches carries a huge cost.
And that cost? It's measurable. The idea that we can effectively multitask? It's just a myth. The cognitive science is crystal clear on this. Just trying to juggle 2 tasks can slice your efficiency almost in half. By the time you get to 3, you're operating at less than 50% of your actual potential. That's not just a feeling. It's a quantifiable drop in your performance.
This all leads us to a really critical question. What is the actual price of this constant fragmentation? Who really loses in this game of shallow work? And the answer is, the price is much, much higher than just having a bad day at the office.
In a world that values deep work and real output, being busy all the time is the new form of stagnation. It means you're just trapped in the shallows, reacting to this endless fire hose of information, and you're never able to get to the deep work, the kind of work that creates real value, that leads to growth, and that makes an impact. And this should force you to ask a really pointed question. When your entire day is just a series of reactions to pings, alerts, and meeting invites, whose priorities are you really working on? Because when your schedule is fragmented, you are, by default, executing someone else's agenda, not your own. Because ultimately, it all comes back to this one fundamental truth. Things like innovation, strategy, creativity, solving complex problems, every single form of meaningful output you can think of has one non-negotiable ingredient: sustained, focused attention. Without it, you're really just processing noise.
So, if that's the landscape, how do the people who win this game think differently? What gives them their edge? I can tell you it's not about finding some magic app. It's about a fundamental shift in mindset. It's about deliberately rebuilding your cognitive control.
The edge is realizing that cognitive control, which is just the ability to hold your focus where you want it to be, is not some fixed talent you're born with. It is a trainable asset. Think of it like a muscle. For most of us, it's atrophied in this modern environment. But the good news is, it can absolutely be rebuilt.
Now, the principles for rebuilding are probably the opposite of what you'd expect. High performers don't look for the easy way out. They actually condition their focus with resistance, just like an athlete training. They don't run from boredom or silence. They use those states as tools to reset their minds. And they are absolutely relentless about executing one thing deeply instead of touching many things shallowly.
Here's the bottom line. The default state in the world we live in is cognitive decay. If you do nothing, your ability to focus will get worse. That's just entropy. Rebuilding it requires deliberate, intentional effort. It is never going to happen by accident.
Okay, we've mapped the signal, the pattern, the cost, and the edge. So now, to bring it all home, let's turn these observations into a set of questions for you to really think about.
First, a simple accounting question. If your attention is a currency, just look at the last week of your life. Who or what got to spend it? Was it you?
Second, I want you to take a personal inventory. Be honest with yourself. Is there a skill, a type of thinking, or a complex task that you used to be great at, but now it feels almost impossibly hard? What has this culture of fragmentation personally cost you?
And finally, the most important question of all. Just imagine for a second that you started treating your focus as the trainable, incredibly valuable asset it is. If you truly committed to rebuilding it, what would change? What massive projects could you finally finish? What opportunities could you seize? What incredible value could you create? The answer is everything.